I'll just share with you a funny story from very recently that I heard from one of my ex-team members. Is that there was a facility in Abu Dhabi where the chillers were quite old. So they decided to replace one chiller with a brand new one as a as a first phase, and they did that duly. The old chiller was one of the old chillers was replaced with a brand new one, and obviously at the end of the day, the actual responsibility of energy consumption lies in the hands of the technicians, the guy who's on the
Absolutely.
field, the last mile.
Absolutely.
So you can have all the theory and all the strategies and all the technology in the world, but if you have not fixed that technician or not trained him or sensitized him, you're still in trouble. So after some time, some people went and visited the facility at the management level, and they found that the new chiller was switched off and the old chillers were still running.
I
So they
can
asked
understand.
him that why is the new chiller not running? So his response was that, sir, this chiller is brand new and I don't want to spoil it at the moment. Let the old chillers run till they're able to run. So so all the big strategies that fall flat completely just because the
And
people have.
this is a current day problem also in the hotel. We had a very tough general manager, right? Mr.
Right,
Oberoi was tough, and the general manager was also tough. He had a different job, not only to handle engineering but to handle accounts, and we had a very bad tourism period at that time,
right,
because we had terrorists in the country. The advent of terrorism started in Sri
right.
Lanka in that time. There was a bomb in the Oberoi Hotel.
Oh,
In the hotel I worked, there was a bomb, killed one housekeeping girl. And this general manager is a tough guy, and he didn't like engineers, right? So anything you went and said there was a water leak, he thought this was due to the chief engineer's fault, right? So we used to have one of the strategies we had was in the night, and we used to do this also. If you remember, in the Zumuroda building, we used to do this.
yes,
We used to shut the chillers down for 1 hour, right? Okay.
right, right.
And because of the thermal inertia in the chill water system,
Yeah,
theoretically, you couldn't feel the difference, right?
correct, correct.
Especially during off season, right?
Yeah,
But this general manager who used to be a walking thermostat and a walking humidity stat, used to get up in a bath of sweat,
yeah, yeah. I
So
remember in
even
Zomato
though
also. Yeah,
So even though it was proven that we could save, the chillers were like 400 kilowatts.
right,
Shutting a 400 kilowatt chiller for 2 hours was, 400 kWh, right? Which is a
right,
lot
right.
of saving. So we had to fight with the guy who is the watchman who was tasked with protecting the hotel and saving energy. We had to fight with that guy to succeed. So again, it was a human interaction. Turning the chiller on and off was a simple thing as compared to convincing him.
Yeah, that's
So
the other conflict, right? Saving energy at the cost of what? At the cost of comfort, and
yeah,
which we
and
used to always have with union properties when we were in Serviu. That they would
yeah,
keep
yeah.
restricting us because they don't want their customers to feel, uncomfortable.
Yeah, and even now in the building in Colombo where I am, we try to turn off the air conditioners in the
Mm,
lobbies.
right.
As a committee member there, I say turn off the air conditioners after 10 o'clock, right?
Mm,
But by 10 o'clock, the normal human beings are supposed to be sleeping, right? Or
correct.
getting ready to go to bed. But you'll get one out of 198 apartments. You'll get one
Mm,
guy coming at 2 o'clock in the night after going to the casino or getting drunk or whatever it is. He'll come and say this lobby is hot, right?
right.
So for this one guy or two guys who come at 2 o'clock in the morning,
Yes.
who are with over 50% of their sensors not working,
Yeah.
says, I want the AC on. So we keep the AC on, all night for these two guys who come, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and what a lot of energy do we waste? And this is the problem with climate mitigation strategies, where people
Mm,
don't understand the price they are paying for certain luxuries. Okay.
right. Right. So today we are living in a world of comfort, consumerism, so which override, the
Yeah.
fundamental ways of doing things which were the norm in the 70s and 80s, for example, particularly in our countries.
Yeah, yeah, and it was a necessity. It was a necessity. It was
Yes,
a necessity rather than an option. There was no option, right? It was not an option. When your HLP costs and your energy bills are 30% of your revenue, there was a
yes, yes.
huge drive to to save energy, right? And that made it possible. That made it possible.
Yeah. So on the one hand, you had difficult bosses, which always, like in Serviu, I had you as a difficult boss. But if you look at the having a difficult boss in the right perspective, that actually helps enhance your career path over a
Yeah.
period of time. And this is a story that I've told almost all my subordinates and team members over the years since I left Serviu. And I want to put this on record today, since this is the first time we are having a recorded conversation between you and me. I still remember within the first 2 or 3 weeks of joining Serviu, I had gone to Zomorda in the evening, in the afternoon, and I left. And the next morning, you called me to your office and asked me what happened at Zomorda. And I told you that we have some problems with the BMS which we have to look into. And that was the time you asked me two very profound questions which turned my whole career around. Your first question was, why did you go home before solving the problem? That was
That
your
came
first
from
question.
Bata. That came from
What?
Bata. Okay, that came from
Okay,
Bata.
okay.
The
Yeah,
training at
now I
Bata.
know that it comes came from Bata, and it is very what you call very poetic justice as well. Because in India, when we were kids, you were beaten up with slippers or shoes just to put you in line. So that was your first question, and I was dumbstruck because I did not know what to respond. And your next question was, why did you go to sleep without solving the problem? So this is a story almost you can ask all my, I think I have trained more than 100 engineers over the last 15, 20 years. All of them would have heard this story from me. They may not have heard your name, but they have heard this story. So thank you very much for asking those questions. But
No, and
because they really think
I would
beyond.
thank my boss at Bata, and I would thank Mr. Oberoi because Mr. Oberoi was demanding, and when I was at the hotel and with this terrorism
Yes, yes.
looming, right, and trying to take prominence in the operations of the country, I used to carry a pager, right, a
Hmm.
Motorola pager. It was never switched off. I was not allowed to switch it off. Okay, so not that
Right.
it's and believe it or not, I used to get a pager at 2 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Seneviratne, very formal. There's a
Hmm.
bomb in the hotel. Your presence is required. Now, my wife, who is also a tough boss, my
Hmm.
wife, right? She's tough.
Yes, yes.
She'll say, "You're not going," right? So I have this image of Mr. Oberoi and his hotel being blown up, and then a wife who is going to blow me and throw me out of the house. What do I
Right.
do? So anyway, I used to sort of pull rank and go to the hotel and like
Hmm.
I'm not a warrior, but I used to go to the
Hmm.
hotel to see where this bomb was, right?
Right.
And the security manager would be there by that time, and they would, it would be a false alarm, or
Hmm.
so there was no saying no to these things, and this is part of the story which I think today the engineers and other professionals should know about, and I'm sure these are the things which have made me what I am today. Okay.
Yes, at a subconscious level, they have a huge impact, which actually influence you. Sometimes we don't realize the impact of that, but it is just there. So on the one hand, you have difficult bosses, which is actually quite good. But at the same time, for you to deliver, because now you're in the middle, right? You're in the senior management, but you're still in the middle. You also need a good team to help
So
you
that's
deliver,
why
because
that's why I
obviously.
hired you, right? That's why I hired.
Of course, so thank you very much for that opportunity, because even now I keep using the case study of Zomorda complex, in many instances in my training. But you also must have built teams over the years, right? Different places.
Indeed. Yes, and the thing in building a team is difficult because they are, among the nationalities and cultural
Yes,
backgrounds and upbringing and norms and morals and all these things. I think the success of building teams is finding people who want the job and
Yes.
finding people who really love the job, right?
Mm.
So even now, in the little projects I do now in my retired periods, or in my winter years or autumn years of my life, you have to find people who want the job, right? People who are
Yes.
motivated to work, and you have to find people who like the job, right? Okay. And this is the and my wife always tells me, you don't have a hobby, right?
Mm.
Why don't you start playing golf, or you don't have a hobby? My job is my hobby, and I have a hobby 24 hours of the day, right? Everything I do, I
Yes.
love it, and therefore I don't get tired of it, and my brain keeps working all the time. How do I do this? How do I do it? Even if it's a small thing, I'm now trying to fix a lightning protection system for my solar power installation, and how do I penetrate a roof? Because in
Yes.
Sri Lanka it's raining all the time, right? How do I
Correct.
penetrate the roof?
Mm.
So, the building the teams is finding people, and that's what I look for in hiring people. And then when I find that somebody like you or some of the others, you remember Joel, right?
Yes. Yes.
You remember Joel, you remember Saga, you
Yes.
remember all these people who were working with us, and following that also we had lots of others
Mm.
in my green technologies, people who love the job, who are passionate. So the team is almost self-built. When you find those key elements, right?
Mm.
And then you don't need to discipline them, and you don't need to shout and scream and
Correct.
ask them stupid questions. Why did you go home and not finish the job, right? Because that comes naturally. Okay.
So how long were you there with Oberoi, and then how long did you continue in Sri Lanka, and how did you come back to Dubai again?
So when I was working, the first reason when I left to Sri Lanka in 1977 was our country was very poor. We didn't have even a television at home. Okay.
Right.
I remember when I came to Dubai, I sent money to my parents to buy a television. So it was
Mm.
economic conditions that took me to Dubai. So when
Okay.
I was working at Oberoi in 1970, 1986, 80, I think 85, 84, 85, 86, right?
Mm.
Once again, economic conditions. Oh, that's an interesting story. So, chief engineer of Oberoi was a prestigious position in Sri Lanka, right?
Right.
600 bedroom hotel, 5-star hotel,
Right. Right.
unlimited entertainment account, and if you liked alcohol, you could drink it. It was it
Mm.
was it was a very prestigious job. So people used to come with financial proposals and say, "Why don't
Mm.
we start this project, or why don't we start this project?"
Mm.
And believe it or not, I don't know whether I told you this. I started planting potatoes, right? And
You started
according to
what?
the potatoes, planting potatoes.
Okay. Okay.
And everybody told me it's easy. This is a sort of a handwritten spreadsheet. This is your rate of return, and I took a loan from the bank, from
Mm.
commercial bank. I still joke with the chairman when I meet him now and say, "You gave me because you're chief engineer of Oberoi, they don't ask for collateral or anything. They give you the loan."
Right.
And then this potato plantation went belly up. So
Right.
other important thing is, don't get into business you don't understand it, right?
Correct.
Because you make a lot of mistakes, right?
Mm.
So I made a huge mistake, and I lost at that time 200,000 Sri Lanka rupees.
Right.
It was a
Right.
lot of money at that time. And
Sure.
again, economic conditions in Sri Lanka drove me back to Dubai.
Okay.
Okay. And I went and joined the same company, Thermoelectric Services, as
Okay.
as one of their as their deputy general manager. Right, I joined them. So that's what took me back to Dubai in '86. I came back to Dubai. I into
Mm.
construction, into MEP contracting work. Okay, primarily because I couldn't make ends meet in Sri Lanka,
Mm.
even though I was doing a very, very high-powered, high-paid job in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka cost
Right.
of living was high. I had a television at home, I had a car, but I couldn't build a new house, right? I couldn't send my
Right.
children to universities overseas, right? So
Mm.
again, like everybody else comes to Dubai for these reasons, I came back to Dubai in 1986, right? And worked for the
Right.
same company, Thermo.
So and then, but at that time, there obviously Dubai did not have a construction boom like it started having from the 2000s.
Uh, yes, it was pretty bad time for, but they were building some infrastructure projects like Al Wasl Hospital. The Latifa Hospital was being built.
Right.
And again, the same company, Thermo, we were building infrastructure projects like clinics. Abu Dhabi still had some projects. So I was involved with some MEP projects. The Rashid Hospital was making some infrastructure developments
Mm.
like plant rooms and changing chillers and things like that. So we had work as there were not many MEP companies, BK Gulf, Luna Drake and Skull, Thermo. Those are the three main ETA. Those are the main companies at that time. So I
And
came
then
back
again,
and
so you
go
came
ahead.
back in the late 80s, and then the 90s was a period of, I guess, very stable economic conditions, right? At that time, there was nothing
No,
major happening.
actually, I'm not. Yeah, so I came back in '86, and from around '90s, I think early '90s, things started developing again. The Iran, I think the Iran-Iraq war was just about over, or it was just starting. Airport development had started. The cargo
Uh,
village was being made, and Bechtel was still consultants at the airport, Colombo, at the Dubai International Airport.
mm,
So if I remember correctly, things are just starting to happen in Dubai at that time. Okay, because the airport construction was just about to start. Okay,
right, right.
yeah.
But that was also the time when you left Thermo and started your own consulting firm, right?
Yes, and at Thermo as a contractor, we were doing a lot of MEP design work for consultants.
Okay.
Uh, MEP was coming as design build type of a thing.
Mm,
So the design concept would be provided, but the basic, sizing and things like that were done by the contractors, and that was like
contract.
a unwritten norm. So we did the
Mm.
Marcas Al Jumeirah shopping center. Mr. Abdulaziz,
Yes,
the
yes,
shopping
yes,
center.
yes.
Sun and Sand Sports are coming up. So
Mm,
we were doing design work, and then I thought, this is interesting to do. And then
mm,
in with the blessings of my Thermo general manager, Mr. Rafa, I
mm.
started my consultancy company called Mario Associates Engineering Consultants. So that was I believe in the 90s or 90, 92, 93, something like that. Okay.
Right.
It was pure MEP engineering. Okay.
Mm. And then you again left Dubai
Yes,
in the
once
late
again,
90s.
economic pressure. I was very happy, and I was a consulting engineer by what should I say, by special decree of the municipality,
Okay.
and I had a title called Istasari Mohandasi Al Mekaniki. This is a consulting engineer in mechanical engineering. I
Mhm.
got a special license, and
Okay.
I didn't have electrical engineering license, but I had a mechanical engineering license. I used to outsource electrical,
Mm.
and I was very happy, doing well. Did the tunnels in Sheikh Zayed Road to Zabil tunnels. There were two or three
Okay.
tunnels there. The flyovers, uh, the tunnel near Emirates Hotel, Emirates Towers.
Mhm.
All those at that time, those are the big projects going on. Colombo, the Dubai airport. I was a consultant for
Right.
Bechtel, uh, because Bechtel wanted a sort of a different caliber mechanical electrical engineer. I was working for them. as their mechanical. I was the engineering discipline lead for
Mm.
Bechtel. That was my title, engineering discipline lead. Basically responsible for the engineering of the airport. All the engineering was done in San Francisco, and our job was to implement it in Dubai.
Right.
And the drive to go to Canada was because my two daughters were in university, and I just couldn't afford to pay for their education
Mm.
working in Dubai, right? That sounds
Really?
ridiculous, but
Yeah.
the education was costing a lot of money. And
Mm.
besides, the two daughters were in America and we were in Dubai, right?
Right.
So it was financial as well as the fact that family ties are being broken. So we decided to
Right.
go to America, move to Canada, right?
Mm.
But
Was
the
it?
passion to work in Dubai, the passion to stay in MEP
Right.
consultancy, passion to work in construction
Mm.
was easier, was difficult to leave. You know, it was easy to go, but it was difficult to leave. Okay. And Mr.
So
Rafa,
when?
I was there for 5 years,
Right.
about 3 years. And then I came back to Dubai as project manager of the Dubai airport
Dubai Airport.
concourse.
But when you were in Canada, wasn't around the same time that U.S. Green Building Council was getting formed, or because you had told me the stories of those days as well?
Yes. So when I moved to as I moved to Canada, I was not going to work. I was happy retired after hectic pressure in Dubai. It was a very very hectic period to.
Mm.
I thought I'll stay. I bought myself a train set.
Okay.
Okay. So the basement of our house was a big train set. Okay. Not a
Okay,
little
battery
one.
operated one and not a
No,
wild key.
no, 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 not battery operator. This was real 12-volt DC
Oh,
train set.
okay.
I had this train set in the basement. So I
Mm.
retired, right? I retired and I was doing, but that retirement didn't last for more than 3 months. I got bored with it. Cutting grass and drinking beer, taking the dog for a walk, going with the
Mm.
wife shopping, all that retirement stuff
Mm.
didn't work, right? It
Mm.
became I would have died if I continued with that lifestyle. I probably would
Right,
have been
right.
dead by now. So this is something for those engineers. You remember, you got to. I love the engineering world. I like the
Yes.
interaction with people. Once you give that up, you tend to get sick.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
tend to develop what shall I say, depression, right? And I was not never depressed, but I felt that I had to do something. And then to practice as an engineer in Canada,
Mm.
you need to be qualified in Canada.
Right,
So you can't use the title engineer in Canada unless you're a professional engineer.
right.
So once I decided I'm not no longer retired, I had Mario Associates Engineering Consultants, which I sold to Mr. Firoz Ahmed. And then subsequently I started that in Canada, but I couldn't use the title engineering. You
Right.
see, I couldn't have the title Mario Associates Engineering Consultants. So
Mm.
what I did was I had to study,
Okay.
go and do some classes and get
You
my
have to write an
professional
exam, right, to
engineering.
become.
Yeah.
You have to write an exam to
Uh,
become a PM.
Yeah, so I had to do
Mm.
that, get all my university degrees revalidated, blah 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 blah, go through
Mm.
all the process and get myself accredited as a professional engineer. And then I
Mm.
look for a job, right, after getting myself as
Right.
a, but I couldn't find a job, because they said I didn't have Canadian experience, right?
Okay.
Even though I was a professional engineer with
Right.
uh, registration. And at that time, USGBC was just starting, and they came to Vancouver, Canada, which is a very environmentally conscious community.
Yes.
And I attended one of these evening beer and wine sessions where they were touting green buildings. Okay, they were
Right.
trying to get people.
Mm.
And then when I looked at the lead rating one system, which I still have it here in my office, it was doing the same part of energy management which we did energy in with the Oberoi, right? Okay.
Right. Which year was this, by the way?
This was, I believe, probably 97 or so.
Okay.
97, 98, something, somewhere around
Mm.
that period.
Right.
So they were doing this lead rating system,
Mm.
which, which was like tailor made for Sri Lanka, right? It was tailor
Right.
made for our countries, right? You know, even though it was founded in America, it had about environmental thing, about trees, about water, energy, indoor air quality, and all these things which
Mm.
our architects in Sri Lanka and some in Dubai also had this as a natural
Yes.
waveform of
Yes. Yes.
what they're doing. So I was one of the. So at that time they couldn't get people to come on conference calls.
Mm.
So because I was unemployed, because I was free and I was a qualified engineer, I was able to participate in the conference calls at any time they wanted.
Right.
And remember, it was a group of engineers. Very few engineers were there at USGBC. Even now, the
Mm.
engineering community is, I don't think, very strong. It is architects, product suppliers,
Mm.
and what should I say? People from municipalities and regulatory bodies
Local
who are
regulatory
there.
bodies.
And at that time, USGBC headquarters was in San Francisco, right?
Mm.
So I joined the committee as a lead. In fact, I was one of the lead version one committee, technical committee members.
Right.
And we were trying to get projects to do 25 projects. We couldn't get 25
Mm.
projects to join the lead rating
Mm.
system. And
Right.
I was involved with these, in these conference calls and developing the lead rating system, going for meetings. Again, you could say that this whole lead rating system was started in the west coast of America, which is
Mm.
very, very passionate about environmental concerns. So
Right.
Vancouver, Oregon, Seattle, San Francisco. These are very environmentally conscious cities in the northern hemisphere. And as a
Right.
result of it, I was able to interact with some of the pioneers of the lead rating system.
Okay.
Uh, and attended the annual conferences. And I suggested to them that we get an international project, and they were overjoyed with this. Okay, they were
Mm.
really, really happy to get a project in Sri Lanka, the Kandalama Hotel, and
Yes.
which was almost tailor made for lead. Okay,
Mm.
there was if you took Kandalama Hotel and the
Mm.
lead rating system, they were like peas in a pod. Okay,
Right.
there was a glove fit in those systems. And I was able to do the first lead rating system hotel, as well as the first lead project outside of the United States
So
for
that
the lead
project,
rating
this
system.
is Kandalama Hotel. Where is it? It's in Colombo or somewhere else?
No, it is. It's about 150 kilometers out of Colombo. Okay,
I
it's
still
a
remember Kandalama Hotel case study in the lead reference package that I studied in 2005
yeah,
for my
it's
big
still there.
exam.
It's still there. It has a lead bronze plaque, a real bronze plaque. Now all the lead
Mm.
plaques are out of glass or wood or stainless steel,
Yes.
or
Correct.
it's a foreign material. But this was the lead bronze hotel, and when you go to Kandalama, you'll see the lead. It's a bronze plaque. Okay,
So this was the
so
first lead certified project outside US.
United States, yeah.
Okay.
And for many years in lead, during the international the lead expo conferences, they used to refer to this hotel as Mario's Hotel. Uh, and it was also again right place at the right time. It took captured that opportunity, The person who helped me with that project is Mr. Prema Kure. Unfortunately, he died a couple of months ago. He wrote a book about how this hotel was built during the troubled times of Sri Lanka. His picture is here in my office. Stalwart of sustainability. And we again, we can have our ideas, we can be very passionate about green. If you don't have the owners who want to do it, you don't have a
Absolutely.
chance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the year 2000, to do a lead project in Sri Lanka, from our economy was very bad, tourism was
Yes.
down, and these guys to believe in what I told them, and
Mm.
to make and to do the little changes they had to do to make it lead, to do the
Yeah.
documentation. That was great. My fee was $5,000, of
That's all. Okay.
which I paid $3,500 for
Yeah. Energy modeling.
airfare, two trips to Sri Lanka, and $700 was I paid to buy an indoor air quality monitor, CO2 monitor. So the money, I didn't get any money out of it, but it served as a platform for the rest of my career in sustainability. So that was the reward, not the money, but the
No, no, it is a milestone and a path-breaking project for sure. Especially given the context of what we saw of green building certification systems in the early 2000s here in the Middle East. So
I still have the two lead submissions
okay,
which I made, because there were actually, out of the 25 projects which started the lead version 1, only
yeah,
12 finished. Okay.
okay,
And out of the 12, only 7 got awards. Okay.
that's
So
not a bad
in
strike
the
rate
year,
actually.
sorry.
That's not a bad strike rate actually. Given the early stage of green building movement, the 50% strike rate is not bad at all.
It's not 50%. It's about 25%. Because only 7 completed it, right?
No, no, you said 12 completed, right?
12 completed it, but they managed to stay with the program, but only 7
Okay,
managed
okay,
to
okay. Only
submit
seven.
documentation to get a rating.
Right, right, right.
And there was, I think, 1 gold and a couple of bronze and silver. At that
Hmm.
time, the USGBC called and told me, Mario, why don't you try to make it silver, right? I had enough bureaucracy with the USGBC to stop at, and there was no incentive. Nobody knew what gold, bronze, and silver was.
Right, right, right.
So I had enough of this, and I thought enough, bronze is enough, and I stopped at bronze.
So you did this Kandalama Hotel lead certification project while you were still in Canada.
I was in Canada and Dubai. That was running concurrently with my stint in Dubai as a project manager for Thermo on the
Yeah.
Dubai Airport expansion project. So whilst I was doing that,
Mm.
whilst working in Dubai, it was easy for me to communicate with Sri Lanka and get a few things done there.
Right.
And then I used to be traveling to the US very often,
Mm.
traveling to Canada very often. So submitting documentation was not online. Now everything is done
Mm.
online. This was hard copy, taking it to Seattle and giving it to Tom
Yes,
Palladino.
yes.
Tom Palladino was doing the reviews, taking it and giving it to
Mm.
him and say, "Hey, listen, this is our submission." So things worked well with the USGBC to get them certified, and then they invited us to come to Washington to accept the award, which I went for.
And then came 2002, 2003 when you joined Serviu as general manager. And then you started again within Serviu, you started this whole green building consultancy. Uh,
Yes, because that was one of the revenue streams, and again, energy was sort of becoming spoken about, and we started. I spoke to, you remember, our favorite boss Simon Azam,
yes,
and I told him that this is going to be a hit in the next couple of years. So he said, start it. And our website, you remember, we had these
yes.
lead rating system, and and I was able to tell them to do a lead rating system, but his first question was how much is it going to cost, right? He didn't even want to
Yes.
pay Servue, his own company, consultancy fee. If you
Yes.
remember, we never got any work from
Yes. Yes. Correct.
Indian properties. Even if we had to get it, we had to be the low bidder to get it. Otherwise, we never
Yeah.
got anything. No.
Yes. So at that time also you started this whole lead project in Abu Dhabi, right? Which ultimately
So
did not get the certificate, but
no, we had our website showed lead, right? It had
mm,
lead rating system, right?
mm,
The advantages of all that, and
correct.
then U.S. Embassy was trying to do this lead, and they
Mm,
through our website contacted me and said, "Can you do this?" And I said, "Sure, we can do this." And that's when I think you and I went to the U.S.
yes.
Embassy, if I remember,
Yes. Yes.
and we tried to do the certification of the U.S.
Mm,
Embassy thing. And there are, once again, I forget the project manager's name.
mm,
Uh, I forget his name. He was a very nice gentleman, and he was fascinated by the fact that somebody in Dubai was doing this. And
yes.
he gave us I think he paid us some money for it.
Mm,
I'm not sure how much, but he paid us some money, and they were very keen on doing this. I used to go to the U.S. Embassy with all the top security
yes. I
clearances which
remember.
you had to do. But then what happened was they were going to open the U.S. Embassy, and they shipped all the documents,
Mm,
everything they had in containers to the U.S., back to the U.S. because of security. They didn't leave any. They didn't when they vacated the site. They didn't leave anything here. So we couldn't do
okay.
the documentation. We couldn't do the documentation. Otherwise,
But the embassy is still in the
otherwise,
same building.
sorry,
The embassy is not in the same building, is it?
embassy is in the same building. That was the U.S. embassy. That funny-looking, trapezoidal-looking building.
Because of the
Uh,
rainwater harvesting thing.
I'm not
There,
sure. I mean, this is building which looked like a pyramid, but a square
yes.
pyramid type of a thing. It had a
I
lot of
thought
green
that
features.
they had kept that slope for the rainwater harvesting or something like that.
Is it? I thought it was to deflect any rockets which were fired at it.
Ah, that might be a more logical reason. then
But
then
they
came
did.
this, but
Come
the
here.
decade of,
So Sugata, you know this lady, right? Hi.
of course. Hi Ramini, how are you?
Good. So this is one of the tough bosses I had. You lost your hair.
Yes, of course. It's been 20 years. But you still look the same.
Oh, good. So
I'm
this
glad
is this
Maria
is
called
one of
you and I
the
could say hi to you.
tough bosses I've had to keep me going. I'm his boss, so you have to ask me. All
Yes,
right,
of
guys.
course.
Take, take the guy. Take this guy.
So
So
I was talking of this decade of the 2000, which in my personal viewpoint, is the most transformative one as far as sustainable development is concerned. In the early 2000, the beginning, there was hardly anything happening, and by the time 2010 came in, there's a huge amount of global
yes.
work going on.
So what happened in so I was starting with the USGBC being active, right, in the year 2002, I would say, right? In the survey period was 2002, somewhere around
Yeah,
that time, right?
2003, yes.
And yeah, so I was still I wouldn't say country representative, but I was doing presentations and things like that. And Mr. Raghupati and Srinivasan, you remember, they were starting
Yes.
the Indian Green Building Council, and I used to get invited to go to India to for their ceremonies, and we had a good time because at that time USGBC was very still in its inception. There was probably a core group of around, I would say, 30, 40 people who used to be the drivers of it, right? And what was his name? Rick Fedrizzi,
Yeah.
and they were there, and we used to know each other. Within the World Green Building Council was starting, and what happened was that I happened to get a project with the Wafi city
Yes.
as the MEP engineer for a district cooling plant. Okay,
Mm.
and I was doing this. I had uh, no uh, no aspirations of making it a green building, but
Mm.
the client was very passionate. His name is Ron. Ron. Oh, I used to call him Ron. He
Mm.
was also passionate. He was an ex-Navy engineer, and he was passionate about energy management and all these things. And he took it to Sheikh Mana, who was the
Okay.
boss, and they liked the idea of becoming green. They were inherently
Mm.
green, provided there's no cost increase, right?
Right.
But because the project was, I forget the cost of the project, because the project was huge in terms of chillers,
Mm.
in terms of MEP, the water flow, the low flow water fixtures and the energy efficient lighting, those are costing not, they were less than 1% of the cost. Okay.
Yeah. Negligible. Yeah.
Very negligible. I was able to make it a green building, right? And there was no competition as such, but Pacific Controls were also
Yes.
touting for this title. And again, what we did was we were very agile with the submissions and with the USGBC, and when they asked for information, we were sending the information very fast, and we were able to be the first green building to be certified
Mm.
as a lead silver, and then we are excuse me, we upgraded the silver to gold because there was some misunderstanding with the USGBC about the plumbing systems. They didn't understand the local plumbing codes and the way we did plumbing
Right.
in yeah. So we were able to clear that, and it became the lead goal. And Wafi were very proud of that achievement. But they were proud of it. And typical some of the Dubai things is don't talk about these achievements, and they didn't want to publicize it, and they didn't want
Mm.
to, sort of make a big deal out of it. They were
So
happy
that
that
was
the
the first
plant,
LEED certified project in the UAE, right?
that was the first in the Middle East, right? First in the Middle East.
First in the Middle East, yes.
Yeah, and with the lead part of that project being done and dusted, gave us a lot of exposure into doing lead buildings. That also, like the Kandalama Hotel, catapulted
Mm.
me into the lead rating system and
Right.
sustainability. This catapulted me in the Middle East to become a what should I say, a trailblazer in the industry.
Absolutely. And that was also the same around the same time when Emirates Green Building Council or EGBC was being formulated, right? And you were
Yeah.
one of the co-founders.
Yes. So uh, Habiba Al Marashi, if I get the name right,
Yes.
uh, she and Dr. Ovanati, myself, and Dr. Moshin Yusufali,
Mohsen Abul Naga.
Moshin Abul Naga. Okay. Six of us got together and started this started this Green Building Council of UAE,
Yeah.
and that was also a good and bad thing. I don't know what the Green Building Council is doing nowadays in Dubai, but it was a good thing to disseminate the information and the awareness. That was a good part of it. But the thing was, seemed to be a conflict of interest of me being a consultant in green
Mm.
and doing green work. I mean, that was my bread and butter, and I was a
Right.
member of the member and a founder there, and people like Dr. Avanadi, who were not very practical in green buildings, didn't appreciate the fact that I was bringing that knowledge to the Green Building Council. Okay, so after about 2 or 3 years of several misunderstandings and several futile efforts to bring about discipline. And we had a board of 48 people. Okay, I don't think any organization had a board of
Board of
48 people.
48 people. Okay. So all the members were on the board, I guess.
At the start of it, all the members were board members. Okay, and that's the time I met your boss. What's his name?
Ali.
Engineer,
Ali.
huh? Ali
Ali.
Ali Ali Bintoa, right?
Yes, yes.
I met him, and then concurrently with with the UAE Green Building Council, we had the World Green Building Council, and
Mm.
that was taking a lot of my time. Also, to be a member of the World Green Building Council, where I was appointed as secretary to the World
Mm.
Green Building Council, I had to toss up. I had a toss up between, do I put effort into this organization which doesn't seem to appreciate the real concept of what a green building is. The real thing of green buildings are, we have to make it, right? If you don't make it, there's no idea and keep talking about it, right?
Mm.
Or should I continue with the consultancy to do green buildings and build it? Or should I be in a non-profit organization and try to disseminate information? And then I
Right,
decided to leave the Emirates Green Building Council and pursue my career and my profession, which
right, right.
skyrocketed from there
Mm.
onwards. Okay, to build and to take green buildings not only in UAE but Kuwait, Doha, and
Mm.
Saudi Arabia, and we were doing so many projects in those areas to do
So
as a profession.
approximately how many green buildings you must have certified throughout your career?
So there is a catch in this thing. The total number of buildings certified is about 658 or 700 buildings.
Mm.
But I must say that 600 of those were houses. Okay,
Mm.
so
Okay.
so I think it's about 100 buildings, 100
Oh,
what you call buildings, big high-rise buildings,
high
and
rise,
then
yeah.
600 houses. But we have individual certification for every house.
Right.
Okay, so we did a project in Saudi called Al Wasl Hills Project, where we certified 600 homes. Okay,
Mm.
okay. So each home got a certificate, right?
Right.
So if you classify that as a lead
Yeah.
building, then it has 700
Mm.
odd buildings. So we have 700 certificates in our office somewhere. Okay,
Right.
yeah.
Of course, you look at the end of the day, of course, while size matters, but at the same time, uh, how shall I put it? It's always a catch, right? When you do a successful energy management program, is it a 10% savings on a 10 million dirham bill or a 30% savings on a 1 million dirham bill?
Yes,
So which
yeah.
one is more impactful is a question.
But the projects in Saudi, so we did some projects in Doha, okay,
Right.
uh, lead projects, 11 buildings there, and in addition to doing the buildings, we did a few because of the knowledge we had with lead and the information about, for example, we did something called lead for like 11 buildings in one shot, right? Okay, and got
Right.
one certificate. So I
Neighborhood
forget.
development.
Huh?
Lead for
So
neighborhood.
no, no, not lead for neighborhood. It was lead for multiple rating systems, right? Okay.
Acha.
So there were so many subcategories of lead which we were able to spearhead and and
Right, right.
and do them, and we did some very in a lot of communication with the USGBC, and this is where the network mattered. Okay, that knowing the
Hmm.
people and how to do it. There were
Yes.
no favors done, but the life was made fairly. The path was paved, but there were no favors at all. I used to be
Right.
one of the biggest troublemakers in the lead rating system at one
Hmm.
time because we had a few people called, what do you call him, raters or evaluators, who used to evaluate our submissions, and they used to be, they were not very good HVAC engineers,
Mm.
and they used to reject our proposals, and sometimes on prerequisites. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, so we had,
Mm.
like, some of the DIVA projects, the prerequisites were rejected. So basically, after 2 years of working with DIVA, you can imagine we're going up
Mm.
to their chairman. Who is the chairman? I forget.
Mr. Said Al Tayar.
Can you imagine going to Said Al and telling the fundamentals of the project we couldn't comply with?
Right, right, right. Yeah, it's
So
always. No, in fact, I remember when we were doing lead projects in TCOM, there were some projects because I think in TCOM we did 5 lead projects in that period. And for the same submission, on one project it was approved, on another project it was rejected for one particular credit because the evaluator was different. So we had to make a case like this. But even I guess that
So
those things
one of
happen.
the things which I must emphasize is we were good. We took engineering seriously. We took
Yeah.
ASHRAE seriously. As a result of it, we were able to do lead projects.
Yes.
It was not that we were lead certifying people who had to learn ASHRAE. We were doing ASHRAE
Yes.
and
Yes.
all
Yes.
the building codes as part of our day-to-day work, and therefore
Mm.
we were able to do lead. And we did the Diva Garage building, which is one of the toughest buildings I did. There were
Mm.
about 10 different buildings. There was one
Okay.
little administration building, a guardhouse, battery charging room, car washing facility, a
Right.
generator room. Like this, there were 17 or 18 other little structures, which in Dubai today, Dubai's building scene, I don't think you can call them buildings even, right? Because they were
Yeah.
like 500 square feet, 1,000 square
Yes.
feet, 900 little buildings, and there was a lead for multiple rating systems. I think it was something like this. And
Mm.
we were trying to do a group certification of this whole thing without submitting 17 documents. We were going to do one document. Okay, that was the whole theory.
Right.
And then we
Mm.
had this car washing facility, which they said had to comply with ASHRAE. Okay, because he couldn't comply with the indoor air quality requirements.
Correct.
And very interesting story. So they rejected the whole submission. Now the building is built, we have done site inspections, everything, and the
Mm.
final submission, the prerequisite of IEQ, whatever, 1.2 or something, was rejected
Mm.
because the car washing facility didn't comply with ASHRAE standard 62, right?
Right.
So I was reading ASHRAE standard 62 like a lawyer
Mm.
and without sleeping. And it says if the local code approves the building code, it's building, that means it complies with standard 62, right?
Right. Right. Right.
If the local code approves the car washing facility as an occupied
Mm.
building,
Mm. Mm.
then ASHRAE accepts it as because this is an unusual building. There were no, ASHRAE also didn't have regulations, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I took this to Peter Templeton, who was in charge of GBCI, and I said, "Look, if you don't agree to this, the only
Mm.
recourse is to go to court, right? Because your evaluators are saying that it has to comply with ASHRAE, and the
Mm.
ASHRAE says this in bold letters, right? Comply with local building codes, and
Mm.
then you are complying with the ASHRAE requirements, right, for this
Right.
facility."
But I
So
thought lead itself has a criteria that for everything they say either ASHRAE or a local code, something like that.
no. It doesn't say that. You have to comply
Whichever is more
for the
stringent.
prerequisites.
Okay.
So this was we had a fee of around 200 or 300,000 dirhams
Mm.
in the being blocked by Diva. And this silly guy in the US is telling us that we have to comply with ASHRAE when there is no ASHRAE code. So this was
Right.
a very, very challenging times in doing lead, and I thought I'll never more do these multiple buildings under one
Yeah.
submission, because the whole project was failing lead, not just
Gets
one building.
compromised because of
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
But eventually
So
you got it, right?
eventually we got it, and we got it because we knew the ASHRAE codes
Right,
uh,
right.
cover to cover, and we were able to interpret it in a factual way. So it was very good learning experience for us.
Manu, on the subject of this green building, I don't know if you remember when this, in the mid 2000s, when this whole green building movement was starting in the UAE, there was always this thought process that LEED doesn't work outside the US, and therefore we must all have our own green building certification system. But having now seen so many, I think there are more than 100 LEED certified projects in the UAE alone. And if you take the full Middle East, there must be several hundreds.
Yes.
Uh, so that concept is completely destroyed, right? Now LEED works pretty much anywhere in the world as far as the
Yes.
certification goes.
And I think one of the things the USGBC was very grateful to me was that I was able to do one lead project outside of the United States in the year 2000.
Yeah.
It was the first green building outside the
Yes.
US in Sri Lanka, right? So that showed that lead version one was able to be done with
Mm.
in outside the US, right? So that was a
Right.
clear demonstration. And then I think also probably around 2010, the lead was being taken global. They took a global view of
Yes.
the rating system. So I think let's say 2010 they did it. From 2000 to 2010, they never threw out a project because it was out of the US system, right?
Right. Mm.
It took a little time. It took a little
Mm.
explanation. Like I told you, the plumbing system in Dubai was different to the plumbing system they had in the US. So they didn't understand more or less not the engineering part of it, but the nomenclature. So once you get the
Right.
nomenclature right, once you get the system right, they were pro accepting rather than pro rejecting it. Okay.
Mm.
So I think it is an international rating system, and it works well in all the countries. And now I think there
Yes.
are projects in Mauritius and Seychelles, and I did a lead rating for a project in Seychelles,
Mm.
and and like that. So I don't think it's a very US centric. It's
Right.
developed in the US, but it's a global system. Never bothered me. That never bothered me. Okay.
Absolutely. But anyway, look, at the end of the day, lead always talks of local conditions, and ASHRAE also talks of different weather conditions,
Absolutely,
climatic
absolutely.
conditions, etc. So
The only
now,
thing
as
is
we,
when you come to places like Sri Lanka,
Mhm.
insulation is a phenomena in engineering, which is a economic decision maker, right?
Yes,
So so how much insulation you put depends on how much energy you can save.
correct.
Okay, so when you come to places like Sri Lanka, where the outside temperature, barring climate condition, climate change, is let's say 31 degrees, you
Mhm.
don't need to go to double glazing or to 6 inches of wall size. Okay, insulation.
Yes,
So, so at that time you may get penalized by the energy codes because
Mm.
ASHRAE 90.1 has becoming more and more stringent in insulation over the period.
Mm.
But that's for cold climates or very hot climates. But for if you take a tropical place like Sri Lanka, do you really need to go to double insulated glass? Okay.
right. Right. No,
So
those
those
kind
are
of
the
minor exceptions are always there. I remember one of the projects that we were trying to do, which was a five or six-story building, but the building had a very small footprint. Now, the tricky part was that in ASHRAE 92, it says that if a building is more than 5 stories, it must have water-cooled chillers. That was some implication in that guideline. But this building overall GFA was only about 50,000 square feet or so. So nobody puts a water cooled chiller on a 50,000 square feet building. So it was a very tricky part of that. But I don't remember how we overcome that. Mario, as we wind down towards the close of this podcast, just wanted to touch upon a few final things.
Okay.
Obviously, you have had a very diverse and wide-ranging career from multiple geographical locations to different kinds of companies, different roles. You have been a consultant, you have been a contractor, you have been a facility manager, you have been a green building consultant. Uh, Over this geographical zones, different roles that you have had, what has been your biggest failure?
I think if I when I today when I look at it, and I'm very sorry about this. My biggest failure has been my family is scattered all over the. I don't. I have my wife here. My two daughters, only two daughters, they are living abroad. One is in America, one is in Canada. So
Okay.
best case scenario, I get to see them once a year. Okay.
Mm,
So in you touched on the subject that I have been doing work globally. This has resulted in my family being fragmented. Okay,
mm,
we do talk to each other. In fact, my daughter just called me while we were on the call. I didn't answer the call. She comes once a year to see me. The two girls come here. So if I had to redo it again, I may think about family first, right? Because
right.
as you get to your years of, like 70s, I think it draws you to your family, okay?
Mm,
And then you can't get the family. My daughters both are
yeah,
married. They're doing professional jobs. They're not going to leave that and come to Sri Lanka, right? And
correct.
I cannot go and even though I'm a Canadian citizen, I can't go and live in Canada because I love Sri Lanka, right? I mean, you can get
Mm,
a passport, but you never become a citizen of that country.
correct.
Yeah. So in doing all these great things professionally, which I enjoyed very much every day. I
Mm,
love to take my car apart. I love to take an air conditioner apart, to remove a fan, fix it, and appreciate the engineering that goes into it. I also think I don't have my daughters here, right? So that's I think that's a failure in my part, right? Okay, I consider
is
that a
this,
failure.
would you call this the price you pay for ambition?
You can put it that way. Yeah, you can put it that way. Okay, you pay for achieving something. I'm sure when you talk to many professionals, they would say the same thing because you are allowed so many points by God.
Mm,
You're allowed so many things,
yeah.
and you can put all that to it's like going gambling, right? You can take all your money and put it on blackjack, or you can put it on the
Mm,
slot machine, or you can put it on roulette, or I don't know what are the games.
yeah.
But that's it, right? That's your budget. So you're
Mm,
given so many things in your life, and it depends where you decide to put that in, right? Okay.
mm.
And so that's the price you pay for working in Dubai. I think many people who work in Dubai, it's a lovely place. I owe my life to Dubai, but at the same time, I think I sacrificed certain things to achieve that.
And finally, because you again have worn multiple hats throughout your career, what kind of career paths would you recommend for young engineers and technicians?
As I mentioned, firstly, you have to love that job, right?
Yes.
So if you want to if you must love it, right? You must love
Mm,
the job. Otherwise, you're going to be not a failure, but you're going to be a disgruntled person. So career path depends on what you love. Okay, it's not
mm,
what your parents want you to do, or it's not about something you get paid the highest amount. Otherwise, you hear a lot of professionals getting burnt out. Okay, meaning
yeah.
that they work too much. So I think passion to do something and to do it well
Mm,
is something you need to select. So you must love to do whether you want to do green buildings or whether you want to do repair cars, whether you want to do whatever you want to do, you must love this, right? And when you love it, it becomes a pleasure. It becomes a pleasure to do it. Even small things you achieve. I'm trying to fix a fan, an expel air fan. How many expel air fans are there in Dubai? Millions, right? That little
yeah.
fan. I'm trying to fix this in one of my projects. And believe it or not, it's a challenge, right? Now you'll ask me what's the challenge? To measure it, get the carpenter to make a box and put it there, and not
Yeah.
have splattered cement all over the place. I think that's
Yeah.
when I see that fan working, I'll be happy. That takes passion. And why am I putting an expel fan with a shutter? Because to save energy, right? Because the
Right.
fan has to have a shutter. If you don't have a shutter, you get all the hot air coming into the building. So
Right. Right.
so again, it is a challenge to do it, right? And if you don't love it, you can't do it. If you don't love it. So advice to young engineers or old engineers who want to be happy in their life, love what you're doing it and do it well. No shortcuts. Do it properly. Okay.
Yeah, the challenge in particularly today's world of social network is the peer pressure, right? So even if I do something that I love, and if I'm not making commercial progress, while my peers are making good money and they're leading a lavish lifestyle, it always becomes a challenge for any engineer.
Yes, it becomes so. It's a tough thing. Like yourself, you're talking to a guy 5,000 miles away
Mhm.
for 2 hours. It is your passion to do this, right? There's nothing else driving you for
Oh,
this.
absolutely, yes,
Yeah. So it's a passion
absolutely.
which takes you to do that. And I think engineering is a remarkable industry. I think we are undervalued in most parts of the world. People don't listen to us. But in the developed world, people have to listen to us because you get sued if you do the wrong thing.
Right.
And it's a profession which will grow in the next. It'll grow. It'll become like in the US. You're held accountable for everything you do as an engineer. It'll happen in Sri Lanka. It'll happen in India. It'll happen in the rest of the world where you'll be accountable and you have to do it correctly. That is
Mm.
you have to fix that expelia fan on the wall correctly.
Yeah, I guess artificial intelligence will not help you do that.
No,
But
no. Oh, by the way, recently I'm a reviewer for IMechE,
okay,
for chartered engineers, and one of the candidates. So we get it's all confidential documents which we get. We
right.
review it and then we have an interview and then we recommend whether this person should be a chartered engineer or not. And this guy had he had it was all AI, right? It was all
Mhm.
AI. It was like write me, and we have 5 sectors of the application. It was AI from the word go. It was AI. But then he knew the subject, right? But the writing was AI. There was no doubt about it. It was a
Chat,
lot of
chat,
jargon, no facts. A lot of jargon, no facts.
but ChatGPT does a great job of churning out
Yes,
stuff.
yes. Yes, yes, yes. Indeed,
So,
indeed.
Mario, great. Thank you so much. Cannot express in words my gratitude for doing this, for sparing time. It's always a pleasure, and I hope to do it again because there's so much more to talk about with people like you. I think we still, even after 2 hours, we have just touched only the surface. There's so many
Well,
projects we can talk about.
so thank you
So,
very much for coming in contact with me. I enjoyed our past association. I'm enjoying it now. And come to Sri Lanka and you come here. I can't show you the marvels of what happens in Dubai. I can't show you, but I can show you some good engineering down towards sustainability things which happen in our day-to-day life. I am doing a very small project now, which is I've done 20 kilowatts of solar building in one of my farms,
right.
and the last Diva building we were planning, that was something like 17,000 kilowatts installation, something a huge amount, right? It was
Right.
going to
Right.
generate 6 gigawatt hours of electricity.
Right.
So, but this is tougher than that because there's no side tire saying this has to happen and it will happen here. 20 kilowatt, they say rejected, right?
Yeah.
So then you're going to go back and fill another form and then find a way of getting it done. So when you come here, I will show you the 20 kilowatt it's running. I'm trying to
No,
make it 40 kilowatt.
I would love to come to
And
Sri Lanka. Never been there, but so this is why I'm trying to develop a business model where I can work from anywhere in the world. And once the
absolutely.
business stabilizes, obviously I'll take workations. So I will come and
Absolutely.
stay.
And you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy the
Absolutely.
vacation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Mario, once again, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon, and hopefully we can do some work together as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Sugata.
Take
My
care of
best
your health.
wishes to your colleagues and families. Take care.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care, Mario. All the best.